I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters and Gaveliers, to today's meeting. It's time for us to bring up our club president.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the week before the 1 year anniversary of the Gavel Club, I believe, right? And I thank you all for participating in this. It means a lot to me and my mom, who it means a lot to. But I will just pass it back to the Toastmaster, Xavier Taylor.
As Toastmaster, I will be introducing our grammarian for our grammarian's role, timer for our timer's role, and I will bring up the evaluators to introduce our speaker. So first, can we bring up our grammarian for the role for the grammarian?
Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Liu, and I will be your grammarian for today. As the grammarian, I will be announcing the word of the day, which is wangle, a verb. Its definition is to get something by trickery or persuasion, or to adjust or manipulate for personal or fraudulent ends. A sentence in which this word might be used is, he managed to wangle his way into the party. As grammarian, I will be monitoring for the use of proper grammar during speeches, as well as any filler words such as ums and ahs. And lastly, also, if anyone happens to use the word of the day. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Next up, we have our timer.
Thank you, fellow Gavelier Taylor. It's timer, our time to table topic speakers, formal speeches, and the evaluation. I will alert each speaker of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red virtual background. The table topic speakers should limit their remarks to 1 to 2 minutes. At 1 minute, you will see the green. 1 minute and 30 seconds, you will see your yellow. And at 2 minutes, you will see your red virtual background. We also have today one speech of 4 to 6 minutes. At 4 minutes, you will see the green. At 5 minutes, you will see the yellow. And at 6 minutes, you will see the red virtual background. We also have one speaker today, which is speaking from 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes, you will see the green. 6 minutes, you will see the yellow. And at 7, you will see the red virtual background. Otherwise, you will see the timer's clock. As I said earlier, you have a 30-second grace period at the beginning and at the end.
So first, I'd like to bring up Mr. Horace Taylor as evaluator 1 for Mr. Daniel Wu for a quick introduction.
Thank you, Gaveliers, Toastmasters. Good afternoon, and welcome to Memphis Gavel Club. Our first speaker will be delivering an icebreaker. The icebreaker speech is a speech all about the individual, what she or he decides to share with us. The icebreaker speech is typically from 4 to 6 minutes.
You now have the floor, Mr. Daniel Wu, and remember.
Dear Toastmaster of the Day and other Toastmasters, to start off the speech, I want to ask you all a question. When was the last time you've confidently faced a challenge or an obstacle without running away? This past summer, I started getting into chess. I wasn't as serious about it then. I thought maybe it could just be another hobby I could pursue. Little did I know at the time, chess was going to be one of my favorite hobbies today. A game of chess, in essence, is just another thinking game. But what sets it apart from the other games is the fact that a board with 32 pieces and 64 squares can hold infinite possibilities in terms of position. So that's an exaggeration, really, but mathematicians found out that there can be 10 to the 123rd positions on a chessboard. For context, there are only 10 to the 86th atoms in the observable universe. So that's a lot, but that's enough sciencey stuff. The point I want to get to today is about facing your obstacles with confidence and not running away. I want to use my first ever rated chess tournament as an example. I had already been to a tournament one that wasn't rated at the time, so I had an idea of how it worked. I go in, I play a series of 5 games, and I get out. Simple as that. What I failed to realize was how mentally straining that could be. A while after the tournament, I thought about it a bit. Okay, I had lost my first game. That was bad news for a number of reasons. For example, for one, it pummels your self-confidence, but it wasn't all that bad because your next game, you could just play a lower rated opponent. But I went to lose round 2 as well. At that point, any hope I had left disappeared. I went on to lose the rest of my games and came out with a complete loss. A while after the tournament, I thought about it a bit. Why did I lose even though I played the worst players in the tournament? Why was I the worst of all of them? I didn't think so. So what did they have that I didn't? The answer came upon was confidence. What had happened was I started losing confidence after losing the first round, which kind of snowballed into me losing more and more with each passing round. So I tested this out in my next tournament. I mustered up all the confidence I could, and I started my first round. I won that round, but I lost the second. So I reminded myself I had to keep my confidence. The last 3 rounds went by quickly, and to my surprise, I came out in 3rd place. By not letting my fear get the better of me, I have successfully overcome an obstacle put in front of me. This is not limited to playing chess. Yes, the same holds true for other occasions, whether it be making a speech in front of an audience, competing in sports, or even taking a test. If you can just take a deep breath and put your best foot forward, you may start to think that life's scariest things might not actually be that bad. So again, the point I wanted to get across to you today is, by facing your challenges instead of running away, you can turn them into learning opportunities and improve yourself. So with that in mind, let me ask you again, when was the last time you faced a challenge or an obstacle without running away? Thank you.
Next up, we have our second speech from our Mr. Peter Shi, evaluated by Mr. Jonathan Shin. Mr. Evaluator.
I will be evaluating Peter today, and he informed me that his speech is project number 3, which is get to the point, and that the speaker should prepare a speech that has a clear general purpose and appears confident and has a good organization to support that general purpose, and that the speaker does not rely on any notes. So that's the aim of Peter's speech today.
Okay, so hello everybody, and I'll start off by saying this. There are a lot of people in here who are in high school, me being one of them. I'm actually a junior who is actually about to apply to college. So this topic was very important to me. So I also take a class, and it's called AP Seminar. Basically what we do in that class is we just research a variety of topics that you're interested in, and you write a paper and you present on this. So in a way, this is kind of a practice for the real deal of the AP test. So, but the point I want to make is that all of us are worried about college admissions. And a really controversial topic of college admissions right now is affirmative action. And I can count a lot of Asians in this meeting. So I assume that they too are very passionate like my other Asian friends. So to define what affirmative action is, it's basically giving historically disadvantaged minorities kind of an edge in college admissions. Now, Asians are considered a minority, however, there are a lot of Asians in these top schools. So they've actually joined kind of the white tier group where they actually get the negatives of it. But what we're trying to find in our research is a solution to how to increase diversity while also limiting or increasing fairness in college admissions. Because it seems that affirmative action, it values diversity over fairness. So first we'll go over the positives of affirmative action. Affirmative action, looking at the increased diversity standpoint, is a total success. There have also been studies where they find that affirmative action has no correlation, or race has no correlation in worker productivity in America. So if there's no correlation between race and productivity, why not increase diversity while allowing the economy to stay the same, because there's all positives, no negatives. Another case, specific case in Malaysia, actually, a native tribe called the Bumaputra, they were historically discriminated against tribe. And in response, the government gave them access to preference in stocks, government jobs, and college admissions. This resulted in a dramatic boost in their wealth, and the common argument against it was that, oh, it was at the expense of the economy of Malaysia. Well, the stats actually prove otherwise, as the wealth of Malaysia as a whole increased dramatically after this change too. But going back to the negatives of affirmative action, one, I would like to say that all these positives of affirmative action could also be contributed to other factors. For example, there were several movements in America which prompted help toward minorities in America, such as the Civil Rights Movement, desegregation of schools. All those would contribute to the education of, more specifically, Blacks in America. In Malaysia's case, they had preference in stocks and government jobs, two things which would dramatically increase the wealth of the native tribe. So not everything can be contributed strictly to affirmative action in the college admissions process, but I will say some can be contributed to it. Two, one argument against affirmative action is that it does not help the lower class of the minorities. It only benefits a subsect of the minorities. And what I mean by that is, even if people living in impoverished areas, even if they strive their hardest to get into these top Ivy League schools, the average tuition for these colleges is at the lowest for these top colleges, probably 20,000. Even if you get into these top colleges, you cannot afford it. And there was also other solutions, like I brought up, the desegregation of schools is one of them. But there are also negatives to that, as Black teachers were fired, Black culture was stomped on, and a bunch of other things happened because of the desegregation of schools. Not to say desegregation of school was a net negative, but that is to say there are consequences if you abruptly and uncarefully remove the system. So the solution that we came upon was gradual funding and the gradual education of these K through 12 education opportunities, because that way these minority groups are instead taught when they are young, and they eventually grow up to be smarter and more educated. And eventually you will be able to pull affirmative action away, which increases fairness while also increases diversity within the world. Thank you, and that is my speech.
Excellent speech, Mr. Club President. And now it is time for our table topic session, led by Mr. Joseph.
Okay, hello everyone. For today's first question for table topics is, if you were president for a day, what would be your first action to the country? And this question goes to Anson.
Can you repeat the question? I didn't quite catch it.
Yes, sure. If you were president for a day, what would be your first action to the country?
My first action, this might be controversial, but I will place one person of every race to be in like a big mansion so they can talk it out for a whole day. I don't care whether they commit any violent wrongdoings. They need to get to know each other. So after that day, they get all the communities will have better communication skills so they can understand the other racial populations.
Thank you for input on that question. My next question is, what is your favorite song and why? And this question is for Miss Britnam.
My
Yes,
favorite song.
what is your favorite song and why?
I'm gonna have to go with Young, Gifted, and Black. It's a very old song, but it still reigns supreme in my mind in that it does a number of things. Not just it has a good beat, but it's a very motivational. It has purpose. It has direction, and it's easy to remember because that's where it's at, being young, gifted, and black. And if you listen to the lyrics of it, you will understand why. And you would want that type of song to be introduced to children as low as kindergarten. I learned that kindergarten is a German word, and Adolf Hitler was very skilled at gathering all the children, breaking them away from that home environment and that safe environment, putting them in an industrial setting or an institution, kindergarten, and teaching them what he wanted them to know. So children that age are very impressionable, and it doesn't matter what you put in their minds, it can be all excellent, and that's what they'll remember, and that's how they'll act, and that's how they'll grow and mature. Or you can put something very negative into the children's mind, a Heil Hitler, and teach them about the superiority of one child over another based on one factor. And I think that these tools are just tools of not just programming, but propaganda as well. So my favorite, and because I've been a literacy teacher, I understand the importance of motivation and propaganda. That's my favorite song, at least one of them. And I thank you for asking me that because it didn't take me but a minute to realize that that was the first song to pop in my mind. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for sharing your favorite song. My next question is, do you think impromptu speaking should be taught in school? And this question goes to Michael.
I definitely believe that impromptu speaking should be taught in schools, as it is definitely a skill that is quite necessary. For example, in club environments such as these, where table topics are a great practicing environment for impromptu speeches. It is a very important skill in life, I believe, because it enables you to communicate your thoughts to, say, a class of students, or in the future, a group of work colleagues in a very efficient manner without having a long pre-written speech that no one wants to hear. Most of the times, the people around you you're talking to, they want to hear you. And that's what impromptu speaking is you communicating your mind in what comes to you at the moment, in which case it is most likely the most simple and efficient way of communicating. Sadly, that is not quite taught in schools because there are not many opportunities for not even public speaking, much less impromptu speaking. I think that could be a much more focused aspect of education in our current school system. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your opinion, and I definitely agree with you. My next question is for Mr. Horace Taylor. What is your opinion of the TikTok app?
Thank you for the question. My opinion of the TikTok app. I enjoy the TikTok app. Here's why. I've never used it, or should I say, I've never contributed anything to TikTok other than the fact that I open every single TikTok share that has been sent to me, and I find the content marvelous. For instance, I just saw one today, and it appeared to me that a party was happening. And I was watching as they were dancing, and then the camera zoomed in on the lead dancer. The lead dancer just happens to be the new governor of Maryland, Westmoreland, I think his name is. And he was dancing and just having a grand time. Nothing's wrong with that. However, politically, the way he was juking or dancing so hard, people may take that and say, well, we will see how well he governs. He obviously knows how to dance because, hey, he's Wes Moore. And everybody that I know by the name of Wes Moore knows how to dance. I don't know that TikTok knows that, but if you canvass TikTok for Wes Moore, absolutely every single Wes Moore that you find, you will see that they can dance. So if you think you are a good dancer, perhaps you need to change your name to Wes Moore so you will be known as the Wes Moore Dancing Bear. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Your thought.
Hey, Joseph, was TikTok originated in China or Japan?
In China, I believe it's owned by a Chinese company.
They did a short documentary on TikTok in China, and the TikTok they show in China does not even compare to the TikTok selections they show in America. They're totally opposite, where one is very degrading that comes to America, but one is very uplifting and respectful when shown in China. They don't show the same TikTok videos in these two countries. So it just prompted me to ask that question since you brought it up. And thanks for your answer. Back to you.
My next question is for Mr. Dongwei, if you're able to. What's one hobby you have that allows you to relax?
I like to do bass fishing. And I have some not business partner, fishing buddies. We always go fishing when we have extra time to relax. And I like to go out on the water. Some days it'd be extremely hot, but I still go out on the water, on the lake, and we just sit in the boat and practice our skill at trying to catch a bass. It takes skill to catch that particular fish. That fish will fight, and that fish is moody. It would only eat certain items or foods at certain times of the day. So you have to have the skill to get out there to do that. And it's relaxing to be able to choose the right lure, the right line. Sometimes you have to have the right water temperature, the right sunlight. But I love the bass fish. And that is what I do most of the time, just to relax, just to get away from the city, to get out in that fresh water and bass fish. And each time I go, it's usually 2 to 3 of us. And sometimes I have a beer on the water, where we talk about everything. And then all of a sudden you get a strike. And then you have a battle on your hand trying to get that bass in the boat. Tennessee, if we catch a bass, most of the time we have to throw that bass back in the water because of the size. So we just do it because it relaxes each person and we enjoy it. I thank you for that question.
Thank you for your answer. My next question is for Jonathan, my bro. How many friends do you think is optimal for a person to have? Explain your rationale.
Okay, thank you for the question. I guess I'm kind of an introvert, so I do. The term I learned is ambivert, which is the mix of introvert and extrovert. So I guess I'm in between there as an ambivert. I enjoy having friends and talking to people, but I don't like huge crowds or like huge parties, and sometimes I get tired of those. You can have as many friends as you want, but together, like speaking in a group, then I'd probably want 3 to 4. And I find that talking to a single person is really more the conversation gets deeper than just having fun with a lot of your friends. So yeah, my ideal type is 3 to 4, but if I want to have deeper conversation, then a single person. So yeah.
Would you ever go skydiving? Why or why not? And this question is for Miss Anna Zhang.
Would I ever go to skydiving? No, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm too old for that. I'd rather be on a flat surface and have my feet on that surface. It makes me feel safe. Skydiving, it just sounds very, very scary. First of all, I don't like the feeling of free dropping. If you have driven with somebody in my family, the car goes dash fast. There's a bump that probably a little hill on the road, it will throw you off the gravity. And every time I would jump, and I don't like that. So I would think skydiving definitely is more scary than that. So I wouldn't want to go for that. If I choose what I want to do as the most scary thing, for me, I think that would be snowboarding, because I used to think skiing is scary, but a few years ago, I kind of grasped how to get over my fear, like Daniel just talked about in his icebreaker speech, get over my fear and just go for it. I was able to do the ski. And the next scariest thing I would do is the snowboarding. I will let you guys know how that turned out. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. My next question is for Xavier. What's more important, speaking or listening?
Thank you for the question. To me, since I am not one to talk that much, I would say listening. I like listening more than I like talking, whether it be to my friends, family, or just in general, no matter where I'm at. I usually just like to sit back, just listen and observe. I'm a very observant person. Like, for instance, say I have my family downstairs while I'm upstairs chilling, watching anime or something. And they could be watching football. Or my mom calls me downstairs to come eat or is trying to talk to me from across the house. I don't necessarily talk. I hear them, I'll respond sometimes, or other times I'll just walk down there, see what they want, and then go on about my day. But for your question, yes, I would like listening is more important to me than speaking. Thank you for the question.
If I had to choose, I would also choose to listen. My next question is for Mr. Eric Treat. Do you believe in participation trophies?
Fellow Toastmasters, fellow Gaveliers, thank you for that question. Do I believe in participation trophies? That is a very good question. There's been discussion on this topic in the past, and I might have stated my opinion on it. I think participation trophies are not really a real good thing. Because in life we don't get rewarded for every little thing. And participation trophies to me seems like we're giving someone something for doing nothing. But on the other hand, participation trophy is a thank you for participating in the event. As I mentioned live a few seconds ago, we shouldn't always have our hand out for something that we participated in. Thank you for the question, Mr. Tabletop Master.
Thank you for sharing your opinion. And I think that's time. We'll then move on, and I'll pass it back to Toastmaster Xavier.
Thank you for the excellent table topic session, Mr. Joseph. And Mr. Horace, no wangling people to change their name to Westmore because they think they're a good band. Now, time to bring up our general evaluator, Mr. Anson.
Hello, my name is Anson. I am your general evaluator. I will be evaluating what goes on during the meeting and what goes on during the meeting. So now I will call on the first evaluator for Daniel. It is Mr. Horace Taylor.
So, Mr. Daniel, if I got the title of your speech correctly, or at least what I heard correctly, it was, when was the last time you faced an obstacle? In general, something to that effect. Yes? So here's my evaluation. From the general comments section, here's where you excelled. You excelled at preparation, research, writing, and developing a succinct speech. You had excellent vocal variety and your cadence at which you spoke with, as well as the fact that you, without hesitation, you were prepared and you got up there and you demonstrated that with confidence. And that was very interesting insight that you provided on a game of chess. That, frankly, though I play chess, I never thought about counting, or no one has ever told me that there are 32 pieces. I guess I should just know that, right? And 64 spaces, or mathematically, that's 10 raised to the 123rd power of, I guess that's the different moves or something. But that was very interesting. And then your takeaway message for me was that wise lesson or summary that essentially playing ranked players sharpens one's personal skills. Here's what you may want to work on. Rehearsing the speech so that you won't have to necessarily rely on your notes. It's okay to have notes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, if you had a note card, right? So on a note card, you may have a single word or two or three or four, maybe five different words. So just to keep track. But when we have to rely on our notes heavily, it becomes less of a prepared speech, but an assisted speech, right? So to challenge yourself, present your future speeches with the same confidence that you ascribe to yourself when you are taking on the ranked chess players. As we all know, iron sharpens iron. So as you practice that speech and deliver and practice and rehearse, that's that iron sharpening iron. I think it was a wonderful icebreaker.
I would now like to call on the second evaluator, for Jonathan, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I got to evaluate Peter, and I think it was a great speech on affirmative action. And the criteria I'm evaluating is, again, I'll just state it again: clear general purpose, appears confident, and doesn't rely on notes. So I am looking at the categories, and 1 is excellent, and 5 needs attention. So I'll go and list them first. And first one is general purpose of the speech was clear. Yeah, the 4 categories is inform, persuade, entertain, or inspire. And it was in informed speech, and you gave a little bit of your opinion and a solution at the end. So that's a 2. And I think your speech was clear, and you gave evidence with the Malaysia example to support your argument. Your structure, I gave it a 1, and you compared the positives and the negatives of affirmative action. So you did compare and contrasting the benefits, the negatives. So that was good structure. At the end, you gave a solution and your opinion on it, and that was good. So I give that a 1. As for confidence and nervousness, I gave you a 2. As Miss Brindham said, you were rocking a little bit, and that's fine because you didn't rely on notes, but that's okay, and that you should be uncomfortable with that, but that's good. So I give you a 1 there. And for notes, you didn't rely on notes, and your preparation, I can tell it's very good, of course, because you didn't look at notes. And for your body language, I could see that you were looking at people, you were using your hands, so that's good. So that's a 1. As for something that you could, I guess, work on or improve on, I guess if you were to make a persuasive speech in the future, you could try to get your point out and state your opinion first on your thoughts on affirmative action So thank you for my opportunity to evaluate you, and back to the general evaluator.
I would now like to call on Don Gray for his timers report.
Thank you, General Evaluator. Today we had Daniel Wu. His speech was to be 4 to 6 minutes. He only spoke for 3 minutes and 48 seconds. He was short a few seconds of qualifying. I'm sorry, he did qualify because of the 30-second grace period. So Daniel, make sure you pay attention to the color of the clock. Peter Shee spoke for 6 minutes and 23 seconds. He qualified. Table topics. The first speaker, I did not get his name, but he only spoke for 35 seconds. Toastmaster Distinguished Tony Britton spoke for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The Gavelier Michael spoke for 1 minute and 11 seconds. Distinguished Toastmaster Horace Taylor, 1 minute and 55 seconds. Distinguished Toastmaster Don Gray, 1 minute and 36 seconds. Gavelier Jonathan spoke for 1 minute and 1 second. Toastmaster Anna Zhang, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Gavelier Xavier Taylor spoke for 1 minute and 28 seconds. Distinguished Toastmaster Eric Treat, 1 minute and 27 seconds. For evaluations, evaluation were 2 to 3 minutes. Horace Taylor, Distinguished Toastmaster, spoke for 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Gavelier Jonathan spoke for 2 minutes and 26 seconds. That is your timers report. Back to you, General Evaluator.
I would now like to call on Michael for his grammar score.
I would like to start by thanking Xavier for using the word of the day, wangle, once. Now, for the filler words. Peter, during your speech, you had 2 uhs. Daniel, during your speech, you had 2 ums and 1 For the table topics, Jonathan had 1 Anson had 1 like and 2 uhs. Toastmaster Britnam, Toastmaster Taylor, Toastmaster Gray, and Toastmaster Anna, Toastmaster Treat all had no filler words. I had 1 Jonathan had 2 likes and 2 ums, and Xavier had 1 like. So overall, we can improve slightly on the filler words, us Gaveliers, but overall, this meeting was pretty well done grammatically. Thank you.
So overall, this meeting went on smoothly. The meeting started 1 minute late. The evaluations were good, and our speakers, Daniel, you talked about chess, which I thought was pretty inspirational. But hey, I got first during that. So, and also Peter, you were talking about college admissions. I liked it. The table topics were good, and yeah, the meeting went on smoothly. So now I would like to pass it on to the Toastmasters, Xavier Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Next up, since we are done with our general evaluation session, is now for our announcement that next week, correct, is our 1 year anniversary of the Gavel Club. And I believe we don't have any other announcements. So I'd like to pass it back to our club president for our rules and adjourn the meeting.
Thank you for that, Xavier. All right, so next week, as you said, is our 1 year anniversary. Toastmaster, who would like to be Toastmaster? Going once, twice. I guess I'll take it. Oh wait, Eric raised his hand. So Eric Tree will be the Toastmaster for next week. What's next week? Still be a speaker week or a lesson week? Which one would it be?
This is Don Gray. I joined the Cavaliers Club, but I have never given an icebreaker. I
Oh,
would like to give my icebreaker next week.
Don Gray will give his amazing icebreaker next week.
4 to
So
6 minutes.
who would like to be Don Gray's evaluator?
Come on, youth. Volunteer.
I mean, if nobody else wants to, I'll take it.
Xavier Taylor.
Okay, Xavier will take evaluator 1 for evaluating Don Gray. For the next speaker, who would like to speak?
What's the next project I should do?
I think it's like getting the one I did this week, getting your point across or something.
Number 3.
Getting a point across.
Yeah, get to the points.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, Michael is speaker 2. Thank you for that. And I guess I'll just take, or if anybody else wants to be an evaluator. No, I'll take it. All right, so next we need a general evaluator. Mr. Horace Taylor, enthusiastically takes that position. What else? Timer, someone online, please. Thank you, Joseph, for volunteering to be the timer. Next for the grammarian, what I think is actually the easiest role. And with that, Anson will take it.
I would love to take that.
So Anson will take the cop out grammarian.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
And then lastly, the table topics.
Just think about the
Master. Thank you, Jonathan, for following in your brother's footsteps and taking that role. All right. Thank you all for coming today. It's been a fun week and it's been a fun last year. I know that everybody wasn't here to start last year, but thank you all for joining and have a very nice week. And yeah, see y'all next week, hopefully.